All right, we're down to the wire here, guys. This is the final part of the drawing. It's the gray pencil drawing, the HB lead in your lead holder, which you sharpen with your coffee grinder. And we're basically going to erase this down as much as needed in order to do a nice gray tone drawing over it. And that can be erased down really quite a bit because that blue line is very deep in the paper, and you might need to even use your hard eraser to get rid of some of the lines. But this is the fun part. This is where you see the drawing come to life. In animation, they use a blue pencil for their layout drawing like we just did, and they'll follow it sometimes with a red pencil. Then the final pencil drawing is done with a gray lead, like we're going to do now. And then of course it's inked in standard 2D animation and painted. All right, I can still see everything here, even that ear, so I didn't erase it too far. This is where you start tapering things to your taste. A little bit, if you like. You can add eyelids, that's no problem. Okay, so we're gonna start pretty much anywhere you want to start, but I like to start on the sides of the head because I like to make sure that this straight line that we had established for 5 and 6 is truly straight, because that part of the head should be more narrow. Follow it around, make it just a little irregular. This is no longer a circle, this is the top of a skull. So, you know, mess with it, have fun with it. With the ears, what we're going to do now is take this, remember this triangle that we drew? We're actually going to pull it inside so that it meets along that established eye line with this type of an angle right at the top of the cheekbone. Pull it inside. Finish it off, finish off the earlobe. Make it a little bit of an angle like that, less of a round semicircle. Take your jaw as established and just strengthen it all the way down. Try to balance all the time. Try to balance. Try to keep things symmetrical. The jaw comes up to this divot and away on a curve. The neck is strengthened. You can use your pencil like an ink brush or an ink pen if you like and create a thick, thin line. It's up to you. You might want to lightly add in the muscles for the interior neck. Sharpen your pencil. Keep drawing. Establishing the eyes. The eyelash needs to be thicker and maybe even slightly above the upper eye line. It follows the contour of the eye oval and is thicker. The eyes themselves need to be a little thicker lines on the iris, and this means that we're going to make them darker but do it on the outside of the curve of the circle. See, here's a circle. We want to make our thicker line extending away from that circle so that it becomes a thicker line but also slightly larger iris. Strengthen the pupil and shadow. Always trying to keep a balance. Turn your pencil after you drop the pencil and you break the lead. This is what happens. See, it's gone. All right, so we gotta go back to the coffee grinder. Wind her up, get it sharp. Back it up to where it's comfortable. Go back to the eye and strengthen. Turn to the side if you like. To create shadows. To create a darkened, thickened line. I'm trying to do this in a hurry, but you guys can have fun with it and take your time. These corners can be seen pretty clearly in the eye. Even the lashes as they start to go down, but not right here on the very bottom. You can indicate it right below the eye if you want. We strengthen the nose, make it semicircles for the nostrils. The circle has a bottom, maybe even a little shadow. This time, our U shape, we just use the outer edges, the lines themselves, not the U itself at the bottom. We go back, we create the little divot of the lip that happens right there in the middle, and come away from it with a thicker line angled down. If you want to, you can take a line to the corners, a la Wally Wood, comic book artist from the old days, to create a little bit of a look of the upper lip. If the lip looks like it's too far away, then move it up and create a shadow underneath it. The ball of the chin, of the feathering, establish it a little more. You take a relatively wide line out from the interior vertical for the nose, for the bridge, for the bone of the nose. We finish off eyelids if we want. They follow the curve, the contour, and then they taper up toward the eyebrow. They follow the curve, the contour of the eye oval, and then they taper up to the eyebrow. If at any time the eyes look like they're not lining up right, check them. So obviously this one needs to come down a little bit and over. The idea is that they need to be centered as close as we can get them, because that's what creates the illusion that the pupil is actually looking at us. And that looks pretty reasonable. So I'm going to say that's okay. I'm going to strengthen this up a little bit around the edges. Maybe curve in the nostrils a little bit. Okay, now we're ready to darken underneath the top of the ear and at the bottom of the inner curve of the ear. And we're going to go ahead and knock out a little bit of hair here just to give you an idea of how it can look. What we're going to do is we're going to keep this, we're going to pretend like we have a center point here, and we take a few lines very lightly all the way around the circle of the head, the skull. Keep it on this type of angle, not this. Although you can add some of those strands of hair as we go through it, but the initial approach to it is if his hair is combed back, is that it falls away uniformly. Okay, so now basically what we're going to do is we're going to find a place where the widow's peak would be, which is pop out right there, and we start to pull them. Sometimes it's a relatively wide peak, and it'll be like this. Not just one peak, but a little further, a little wider. And we pull away from that center point. More lines. These are a bit sketchy, very sketchy. Okay? Now we basically just start drawing. In and out. Sometimes they go this way, sometimes they go this way. And you pull it around. all the way down to the sideburns. Now we beef it up, pull it out with darker, thicker lines up around across the head. Every head you draw, guys, is going to be different. Every single one. And don't get discouraged by the number of steps here. In the abbreviated drawing, we can accomplish this in about 3 to 4 minutes. This drawing is taking us almost 30. But you have to get good at this first. So you have to do this a number of times until you understand where everything is placed and what looks right and what looks wrong. I'm still a little bit concerned that this eye is too cross-eyed, so I'm going to widen out the iris a little bit. Okay, I'm happier with that now. In drawing, you don't ever want to have an eyebrow that looks like this. It's always in and out. Some lines go that way, some lines curve up, some curve back the other way. It's the way it is with hair. And it's the way it is with good drawing. You don't want anything to be too uniform. Okay? Finish off the skull, part of the forehead here that is protruding. Strengthen, strengthen. You can take your eraser if you want. Knock out the shape of the skull and reinforce the hair. Remember, it's all pulling away from that middle of the forehead point, because his hair is combed straight back. If you want to, you could add some at the bottom, it's up to you. Otherwise, that's the drawing, guys. Hope you like it. Hope you like what you're able to do. Anytime you feel like you need to balance more, like this eye needs to come over slightly, go ahead and just pull it over. It's your drawing, but it's also important that it look right to you when you're done. Thanks very much, and we will now move on to the next step.